It was raining that morning, the kind of soft, cold rain that carried memories instead of water. The cemetery was quiet, except for the faint hum of thunder in the distance. A black car pulled up beside the old oak tree, and from it stepped Richard Halden, one of the richest men in the city, a man who owned skyscrapers, shipping lines, and hearts that feared him. But here, in this lonely place, he wasn't a billionaire. He was just a father visiting the grave of his only daughter, Lily, who died 3 years ago in a car crash that shattered his world. Richard knelt before the white marble stone, brushing away fallen leaves. His voice trembled as he whispered, "Hey, princess. It's been a while. I brought your favorite lilies." His hands shook when he set them down. "You would have turned 16 today." As he closed his eyes to fight the tears, a soft humming broke the silence, a melody that sounded eerily familiar. He turned. Just a few feet away stood a young black girl, about 15, wearing a faded yellow hoodie and holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. Her face, her eyes, her smile, they looked exactly like Lily's. Richard froze. His heart pounded in disbelief. For a moment, he thought his mind was playing tricks on him. The girl saw him staring and quickly looked down, almost guilty. She placed the flowers on Lily's grave and whispered, "Happy birthday, Lily." He couldn't move. His breath hitched. "How do you know my daughter?" he asked softly. The girl flinched. I didn't mean to bother. "I'm sorry, sir." She turned to leave, but Richard reached out instinctively. "Wait." His voice cracked. "Please, who are you?" The girl hesitated. Then, she said quietly, "My name's Amara. I just come here sometimes. I feel like I know her somehow." Her eyes glistened with tears as she glanced at the grave. "I don't really know why." Something deep inside Richard twisted, a strange pull between grief and hope. The resemblance was uncanny. The way she tilted her head, the dimple on her left cheek, even her voice had a softness that mirrored Lily's. He couldn't let her walk away. "Not yet. Do you live nearby?" he asked gently. She nodded. "Just down the hill. At St. Clair's home. It's a shelter." That single word, shelter, pierced him. This girl, who looked like his daughter, lived in a place for the homeless. "Would it be all right if I walked you back?" Richard asked, unsure why he even said it. Amara looked wary but finally nodded. Together, they walked under the drizzle, silence stretching between them. When they reached the old brick building of St. Clair's, Richard saw children peering through cracked windows, women wrapped in blankets, and volunteers serving soup. Amara waved shyly. "Thanks for walking me, Mr. Halden," he said quietly. Richard Halden. Her eyes widened slightly. Everyone knew that name, the billionaire who built half the city. "Oh," she whispered, "you're him." Richard smiled faintly. "Just a man today, Amara." He hesitated before adding, "May I visit again? Maybe bring you lunch tomorrow?" She nodded, a faint, uncertain smile tugging at her lips. "I'd like that." That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He stared at the old photo of Lily, her laughter frozen in time, and then at the memory of Amara's face. The resemblance haunted him. What if this wasn't coincidence? What if life was trying to tell him something? The next day, he returned to the shelter. Amara greeted him with that same gentle smile, and soon they began meeting regularly. She told him about her life, growing up in foster care, never knowing her real parents, and her dreams of becoming an artist. Richard found himself drawn to her more each day. She reminded him of everything he'd lost, the kindness, the spark, the laughter. Weeks passed. He began funding meals for the shelter anonymously, bringing art supplies for Amara, and finding excuses to visit. But the more he learned about her, the more the questions grew. Who were her parents? Why did she feel connected to Lily's grave? Then one evening, after dropping Amara off, he saw something that froze him. She was holding a tattered old teddy bear, the exact same kind he'd given Lily when she was a baby. He'd had it custom-made, only two in existence, one for Lily, and one that had been lost years ago in a hospital mix-up when Lily was just a few weeks old. He approached the shelter manager, Mrs. Carson, and gently asked about Amara's records. The woman hesitated but eventually said she was found as a baby, abandoned at the city hospital. No name, no documents. Just that teddy bear. Richard's world stopped. His hands trembled as he whispered, "What date?" "August 19th, 2009, she replied. He staggered back. That was Lily's birthday, the same day his wife gave birth to twins. But they told him, one of them didn't make it. Heart pounding, he ordered a private DNA test, praying and fearing all at once. Days later, the results came. The paper slipped from his shaking hands as tears streamed down his face. 99.9% match. Amara was his daughter. The twin he thought had died had been alive all along. Richard drove to the shelter, barely seeing through the blur of his tears. He found Amara painting a mural of a little girl holding a balloon that reached toward the sky. She turned, smiling. "Hey, Mr. Halden. You okay?" He fell to his knees before her, voice breaking. "Amara, you're my daughter." She blinked, confused. "What?" He handed her the paper, his breath shaking. "They told me one of my twins died that night. But it wasn't true. You were taken. Lost. My God, I found you too late." Amara's lips trembled as her eyes filled. "You mean Lily was my sister?" He nodded, tears spilling freely. "Yes. She was. And I think she led me to you." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Amara slowly stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. "I always felt like I was missing someone," she whispered. "Maybe it was you." Richard held her tightly, sobbing into her shoulder, all the years of pain melting into one moment of healing. The cemetery, the loss, the silence, all of it had led to this. Weeks later, Amara stood beside him at Lily's grave again, but this time, she wasn't just a stranger. She was family. Richard placed a new stone beside Lily's, engraved with the words, "For every loss, love leaves a path home." As the sun broke through the clouds, Amara whispered, "Happy birthday, Lily. Thank you for helping Dad find me." And Richard finally smiled through tears, because for the first time in years, he wasn't alone. He'd lost one daughter, but through her, he'd found another. And in that bittersweet miracle, he finally understood that love never dies, it just waits to be found again.